Hi, I'm Ashley with Campbell. Thanks for investing your time to help your community be a great place to live. Before you watch the video, make sure to click the subscribe button so that we can help you make educated decisions as a board member.
Okay, can everyone see the screen?
Looks great.
Hey, we're excellent. Okay, so creating harmony, managing conflict management and community associations, solutions for managing conflict. So as community association managers and board of directors, you are the unsung heroes of the community association industry. You play such an essential role in making the experience great for your community on a daily basis. You're all working really hard and you're doing everything you can to efficiently run and manage your property. I can tell you that from my experience as Director of Community Association Relations here at Hotwire Communications, I have 20 years of managing associations experience. I'm also a contributing writer for the Florida Community Association Journal. I'm a published author of Common Sense Community Management, and I'm also an adjunct professor at Palm Beach State College teaching the CAM pre-license course, which I started in the spring of 2023. This is an excerpt from my book, Common Sense Community Management, a guide from a Florida condo HOA manager, board member, and business partner. Yes, I still serve as a board member for the last 20 years of my HOA. So I'm here to share with you some of real life experiences and hopefully help you navigate on how to deal with all the many challenges that you deal with on a daily basis. So the state requires that I give you the objectives, and this course, you should, by the end of it, understand the causes and types of conflict that arise in community associations and apply effective communication skills to manage the conflicts, develop strategies for collaboration and decision-making, identify and address conflicts in a timely manner, and develop a conflict management plan for your community association. The nature of conflict in community associations, there are going to be problems, struggles, miscommunication. There are differences of opinion, and disagreements are going to happen. It's a known fact. There's going to be differences in opinions. Everyone's going to feel that they have a different priority. There's tension. It happens when you live in close proximity to one another. And when the conflict arises, the first thing you want to do, sometimes you feel like, oh, I just want to avoid it, but you have to be able to address it wisely. And every community has its emotional vampires. This is a term that's often used to describe those individuals that drain the energy and the emotional well-being of those around you and try to cause chaos. In South Florida, we have such a diverse and multicultural community. Diversity can bring a wide range of perspectives. Everyone has their own ideas of what's a priority. And because we're such a multicultural community, everyone has different experiences, and they can bring actually some great ideas to help enrich the community, but sometimes it can lead to tension among the members. So how do you deal with the diversity? How do you bring about change? How do you deal with differences of opinions, the challenges that go along with it? Well, the impact that can occur is it can decrease the morale and the productivity, especially on your employees. They are the first ones to feel it, especially when there's a change in board. It can increase the tension and stress among the members. And you could be, on a path where you feel like, okay, I know where I'm going. And then all of a sudden you have change. So you have to be able to be flexible. It can damage the community relationships and the reputation, because if word gets out to potential buyers that there's conflict, that can hurt your property values and can also affect a potential buyer from purchasing in your community. It can also impact your financial costs. It will increase legal fees. And so these are some things that are the nature of conflict in the community association. Basically, there may be some issues where you as a manager need to build the trust and the confidence and be consistent when it comes to conflicts that are arising in governance and the decision-making process. So it's important to have an understanding of the underlying issues that are contributing to the conflict. So let's talk about the types of conflict. There's interpersonal conflict, that's conflict within oneself. Interpersonal conflict, conflict between individuals, which is most likely to happen more so in community associations. And then you have the intergroup conflict, where you have conflict between groups, and organizational conflict, where there's a conflict within the entire organization. So some of the key takeaways today, I hope that you'll find after you finish this class is: 1, common causes of conflict include limited resources. You may not have enough money in your budget. You may not have enough funds to support certain things that you want to do in your association. Communication breakdowns. There may not be enough communication, and I'm going to talk about how you can increase communication. And non-compliance with rules. There's conflicts when there's inconsistency, or your documents may be unclear, or you just have people that are blatantly just violating the rules and they're just not in compliance. Unresolved conflict, it will have a negative impact on your community association, and there are different types of conflict that occur within the community associations, and these are the 5. So as a manager and as a board member, you have to keep in mind always why you do what you do on a daily basis. Believe in what you do and be confident and have a purpose, and think about what inspires you as a leader. If you instill that in yourself, and you will get others to buy into it. I mean, we all know what to do and how to do it, but we need to establish why we're doing it, and knowing why we're doing it, which will give us a leading edge. Because when we're confident, it's all about perception, and perception is reality. And it's typical to have some days where we get up in the morning and we say, okay, why am I doing this? Establish that self-awareness, and you want to gain others' confidence and trust by knowing your purpose as a leader. You are a management professional. You know why you do what you do, and you have to get the support of everyone else. And you want to be able to manage the drama and the chaos. So we're committed as managers to serve the needs of our customer, which are the residents. And at times you're going to have residents that are going to become angry. And sometimes this may often occur more than what we like. And residents feel the right to be angry. I mean, how many times have you heard, I pay your salary? Residents have the right to complain, and they're going to take it out on you. It's just a known fact. So I always say, have an open door policy. Residents should be able to have the opportunity to meet with you in your office to file the complaint and express what their discontent and frustration is. It may just be due to a misunderstanding. It may just be to a misconception, or they may have a legitimate and reasonable complaint that you as a manager should say, look, I'm really glad that you brought this to my attention because I was unaware of this, and I will investigate it. I mean, regardless of the event that may have led to the complaint, it's your job as a manager to acknowledge that the residents have a complaint and just carefully listen to what they have to say. And it's your job to find the origin of the problem. I mean, anger is an emotional reaction that everyone has, and it has to be acknowledged. So by you developing the trust and the confidence, you're there to make it right. And I love this quote that Bill Gates has, and it's called, he says, your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning. I can't tell you how many times I've learned from residents that were upset about something. I always would say, tell me what's on your mind. Look, we can't make everyone happy, and you have to leave your egos at the door. It's not about you. And don't be reactive. Don't be impulsive. Be empathetic. because our job as managers is to build unity in community. So conflict management and resolution in your community association. First, you want to recognize the signs of the conflict. I always say, rely on your staff. They are the ones that are going to be boots on the ground. They are the ones that are going to come to you and say, look, I hear, it's always at the pool people. They're the ones that talk, and it just feeds like a frenzy, and it just blows up into like a fire and then to a volcano. So you want to be able to gather the information right away, depend on your staff, because they're going to hear it because they're boots on the ground, and identify who the parties are that are involved, that are creating this conflict, and try to determine what the cause of the conflict is. Establish procedures for addressing conflict and provide training for your residents, for them to understand that you are there, you have an open door policy, and train your staff. And if you're with a management company, train the manager to understand what is the procedure for handling conflict, and then create a system by tracking it and find out how you're going about resolving it. We're going to talk about that now. The conflict resolution strategies: negotiation, mediation, arbitration, and de-escalating it is staying calm and respectful and listen. As much as you want to get on the defensive, that person may just want to vent. They may just be having a bad day. It's great to be able to just not get excited, not be reactive, acknowledge their feelings, and then offer solutions. So here's a conflict scenario. And this is something that I personally experienced in a community association. There was a conflict brewing between the residents regarding the association's parking policy. The board implemented a new policy that restricted residents from parking overnight on the street. They had a situation where an emergency vehicle was unable to get through the street because they didn't have wide enough streets, and there were multiple cars parking on the street. I mean, it was a life or death situation. So this decision led to a lot of tension, and there was a lot of dissatisfaction among the residents. And many households now own multiple cars, and the residents were utilizing their garages as storage, and they weren't willing to clean out their garages to park their cars in the garage. And they had, teenagers that got their driver's license. They just felt that the policy was unfair and it was restrictive, that they could no longer park on the street. But again, this was a life or death situation. So how do you manage that? You want to have an open communication channel. And in order to do that, you want to have regular meetings, conduct a town hall, newsletters. You want to have an online platform, your website. If you have a community channel, be open in communicating, and listen and have understanding, because listening goes a long way. There are going to be challenges with these residents, and while the residents understand the board's reasoning behind implementing the policy, there's a safety concern here. And if you just listen to what their concerns are, then you can explain and educate. Consider appointing like a neutral mediator, or have a committee of their constituents that's able to facilitate dialogue and explain why this had to be implemented. That's always great to have their peers amongst them to talk about it, and then ask them to brainstorm. Maybe there's an alternate solution. Maybe they want to have all the even numbers park on one side of the street on certain days, and all the odd numbers park on another side of the street. Get a consensus and be transparent and document everything. And then have a periodic review. Maybe say, okay, for the next 6 months, we're going to try it this way. And a lot of times in associations, people will say, oh, we've always done it this way, and they don't want to change. But it might be something that warrants trying it out. And then if it doesn't work out, then that's not a good solution. If it does work out, great. Remember, having conflict resolution, a plan in place requires patience, empathy, and willingness to find common ground. And having that open communication, active listening, and having a collaborative approach, we can all work together in creating a harmonious environment for all. So the end result in my situation was that we had to hire security to enforce the no parking on the street. And basically it has improved access, and God forbid that someone does need an emergency medical vehicle to get through, they're able to do that now to get to a medical facility. Here's another conflict. This seems to pop up a lot. Dispute over maintenance responsibilities. So there's a disagreement between the residents and who's responsible for what. This happens a lot in condo. Some residents believe that there are certain repairs and tasks that should be the association's responsibility, while others may argue that they are responsible, for their tasks individually, and I don't want to pay for other people's problems, and why is this part of my responsibility? I mean, there's just such a conflict here with who's responsible for what. So again, review your governing documents, educate. I say, look at the statute. If you look at condo law in the statute, and I'm not an attorney, but I would always say, check with your attorney just to confirm that your documents don't stipulate otherwise. But chapter 718, 111, subsection 11 talks about the maintenance responsibilities of who is responsible for what. So the same plan should be in place when it comes to having an open forum and dialogue. Now, you may want to consider amending your governing documents. I've seen this happen in some associations where they decide that maybe it's a high-level upscale condo and they do want to offer handyman service. So in that case, it would be on a work order basis. You could consider hiring a maintenance person that is dedicated just for that, and that person would be funded by the work order system. And again, but you'd have to do a trial and error thing, because you may not have the budget for it, because it may take time for that to get off the ground. And so you may have to fund it. So I always say, do an analysis and talk about, is it worth it to make recommendations to the residents to hire an outsource preferred vendors that handle certain handyman requests, or is it worth it for you to hire someone and then bill the individual residents accordingly? But these types of things do cause conflict, and that's why as managers and boards, we have to be transparent, communicate any types of situations that could cause the conflict and how to find the solutions. Here's another one, noise complaints. This happens all the time. So again, here are the steps. I mean, several residents in my experience have always been complaining about noise, especially in condominium. They would say there's a noise coming up from above and I just can't sleep, and it's causing a disturbance, it's causing a discomfort, and it leads to tension and conflict within the community. So I would always get security to come with me at the time of the occurrence. In fact, I even spent the night in one of my associations, and I wanted to wait to hear if they were complaining. So I physically went with security upstairs, and I asked the resident, and we planned this. We said, can we please figure out what is causing the noise from upstairs, from above? And the resident below is having such a situation that they are so upset that they were taking a broom handle, banging the ceiling for them to stop the noise every night. And it became so difficult because when those residents would see each other on the elevator, that was a major conflict. When they'd see them in the mailroom, that was a conflict. So what I did was I went with security and the unit above, and we tried to figure out what the noise was. And then we would go, I would go downstairs in the unit below, he would go upstairs. And then we were able to figure out that the cabinets were banging, and this person worked night shift. So we were able to get these little bumpers on the cabinets, and we were able to stop the noise, but it just traveled throughout. I also had a situation where they had marble. We recommended they put down rugs. As a manager, you want to do everything you can to find a solution and following these steps, and then monitor it and document. I always say most important thing is make sure that your security in their daily reports document the situation. And if you have to, have a meeting to discuss the complaint and have a conversation, non-confrontational, with the two individuals that are having an issue, and just deal with it head on. It could become a difficult conversation. It could be challenging, but it is essential in dealing with conflict management. So the role of communication is crucial. It will help clarify the misunderstandings. It will reduce tension. And as a manager, finding solutions that work for everyone involved, at the end of the day, you'll feel really good about it. There's a way to start with a positive statement and trying to turn around the negativity. And you want to focus on the issue, not the person, using I statements instead of you, and staying calm and respectful and keeping your tone and maintaining your composure is so important. You don't want to address the person, you want to address the behavior. Active listening and effective speaking skills. So having the active listening and effective speaking skills are essential in communication. It involves paying attention, asking questions, and summarize what you heard. So say you're in a situation and you're listening to someone complain, you want to reiterate what they said. And this way you're acknowledging, and shake your head. And the nonverbal would be including your body language and your facial expressions and your tone of voice. As much as you may want to roll your eyes, and if someone's coming at you, you have to really maintain your composure and try to be stoic. So don't use your facial expressions negatively. Try to smile and listen and convey your message more effectively than words alone, and keep your tone calm. And then written communication. I always follow up after I've met with residents with as per our meeting, and you want to be able to convey the outcome and talk about what the issues are. And if you are gathering information and you don't have a solution, let them know that I'll be doing a full investigation. I'll be gathering the information. Thank you for meeting with me. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. And just confront the problem head on. And if it's someone that has an opposing opinion, I would say with someone else, never give your opinion, always remain neutral. Compromise. Well, sometimes we do have to compromise. And when we do compromise, it's something that it may not be the ideal situation, but once you gather all the information and you weigh the pros and cons of each option, you may have to come to a compromise. And hopefully everyone's happy in the end. And that's why sometimes you may have to go to mediation or an arbitration situation. But again, identify the common interests and brainstorm solutions and negotiate. And again, you may have to go through mediation, arbitration, and try to establish a clear agreement and put that in writing. And you have to be respectful and trust that everyone's going to weigh the pros and cons of all the options when you do brainstorm, weighing those pros and cons and making sure that all parties have an opportunity in the decision-making process. So here are 5 keys to conflict management. Okay, recognize your mission. You are the sole star of your organization. There are times when you can get lost in your own point if you're a board member, and the squabbling ends up subverting to something else, and then you get off on a tangent. So take the time to make sure that your mission is front and center, and it ensures that the toxic behaviors don't poison the entire community, because you want to focus on what your purpose is and understand what the conflict actually is. So be purpose-oriented about conflict resolution. Focus on interest-based solutions rather than position-based solutions. Be curious and work with a third party if necessary. And this may be someone that is on a committee. This might be your attorney. This might be someone that is from another association that dealt with the same thing. But at this stage, it would help to seek a mediator or a coach to give their objective advice to your board on how to address the disunity. And there are things called soft start strategies. When you're having the conversation, say, here's what I'm noticing, here's what I'm wondering, and then describe your experience. Speak about your experience, not about them when you're having the discussion. And as a board member, don't say, you're so critical. Say, I've been feeling criticized and it's making me feel bad. And it's getting really difficult to do my job. Instead of, you're piling more and more work on me and I just can't take it anymore. So it's all about your approach. And it's not what you say, it's how you say it. I always say that. Professionalism. So the key part of your role is, as a manager, is bringing everyone together. I always talk about unity and community. We all are on the same team. And as a manager, you're the coach on the sidelines. Your staff are the players on the field. Your staff, I say, utilize them because they are your biggest supporters. Making sure that they have a good sense of what's going on in the community is so important. So make sure that you have regular staff meetings and communicate with them on what's going on. Make sure they are focused on what you are focused and you get their buy-in. Have a clear understanding of what's going on so you can manage the politics, the rumors, and the behaviors, because it's going to interfere with the operations. But as a professional, just maintain your composure, be patient, listen. And if someone's rude to you, and if someone argues with you, and they're creating this unnecessary drama, put yourself in the other person's shoes. Show that you care. Empathy goes a long way. Think about what they're thinking and why are they behaving this way? Is it because they're having a bad day? Is it because they have someone in their family that is ill? We have to try to tap into and get a pulse on what is going on. Rumors, gossip, complaints, they should not be looked upon as problems. I always looked at that as a challenge. I always used to say, we don't have problems, we have situations and we have challenges. Tackle them head on, and the challenges we'll work on and we'll find those solutions. And do your homework when you're presenting a solution. Talk about with others, your network, your business partners, your experts, your managers next door. You're not alone. You're not the only one that has dealt with this. So do your homework. Gather your information from other associations. Inquire whether they're dealing with the same situation. That will help you find a solution as well. Chaos. We are all managing chaos on a daily basis, and we're all impacted by association politics. Let's face it, being a manager, you're not just a manager, you're a politician, you're a referee, you're a mediator, you're a psychologist, a maintenance expert, a recruiter, a trainer, a supervisor, a coach, an IT expert. You're a counselor, you're a rule enforcer, you're an accountant, you're a facilitator, you're a planner, and most importantly, you're a customer service specialist. So we're all impacted by residents that may not like you. And we're not here to win friends and influence people. We're here to enforce the rules and assess or fine. We have to do it. It's our role to govern, and managing associations is political. We conduct elections and board meetings, and residents all have different agendas, and choosing not to deal with others' interaction is managing in a vacuum. So do not be so concerned with being well liked, because it does not always result in a positive outcome. You can control it by establishing your self-awareness, managing as a professional, and don't engage in political conversations. Always stick to the facts. You can control the negativity. You can control the gossip. You can control the rumors. Talk to your staff and find out from others what is the buzz in the community. Clearly find out what is going on, be approachable, and have an open door policy. You're in the driver's seat. Everyone in the community is relying on you, and you're driving this bus. I don't know how many of you read Good to Great, Jim Collins, but it's a great book. It talks about how you're in the driver's seat, you're driving the bus, and you want to make sure you have everyone in the right seats. And you want to stay on that path. You don't want to crash. You want to make sure that you're there to help control the chaos so you don't crash. 10 steps to diffuse angry residents. 1, show that you care. Always give your full and undivided attention to the resident. You want to make good eye contact. Focus your entire attention to them. If they're in your office, ask your administrative assistant to stop everything. Close your door. Meet with this person. Tell your administrative assistant to hold all your calls, hold all the vendors from coming in. You want to be totally focused on what they're saying. Smile, be passionate, be sincere. And how many times have we said, don't take it personally? It's not about you. You have to earn their trust and confidence. That complaining resident needs to understand that you are there to help them, that you're there to listen to them. You want them to communicate their frustrations. Empathy is putting yourself in the other person's shoes and showing that you care. And if they scream and yell at you, say, I don't appreciate you raising your voice. Please, when speaking to me, can you please keep your tone down? I'm here to help. I'm here to listen. We are all on the same team. Listen to their emotions. Identify their body language, their words. It's important to listen and let them know you're there to assist. Nod your head. Give them that body language when you're interacting with them. And have patience. Don't get on the defensive. As much as sometimes we want to interrupt while they're venting, maybe they just need to vent. Just acknowledge what they're saying and don't interrupt them. Let them continue and get it off their chest. And wait for the resident to speak and draw back. Then you can use that opportunity to interject and reassure them that you understand where they're coming from and recognize that they have the right to be angry, and then restate what they said so they know that you're compassionate about it. Speak eloquently and professionally with a calm approach. If someone is screaming at you, they're loud, they're abusive, they're angry, just speak calmly, softly, have a steady tone. Don't allow your voice to rise over their level of speaking. Your body language should reflect a very calm demeanor. Don't react, don't shout over them, don't interrupt them, don't get into a verbal battle. You should remain composed and in control of your emotions. Eventually, the resident will have to lower his or her voice to hear what you're saying, and hopefully they'll be much more receptive. They came to you to solve their problem and voice that they're having a discontent. So respond by restating the person's concern. Just reiterate what they said and let them know that you understand what they're saying, and repeat what they said. And then say, this must be frustrating. I understand where you're coming from. Ask questions. Identify what the problem is. Sometimes we jump to conclusions and we think we know what they're going to say, or we become judgmental and right away we want to get on the defensive. I don't know how many times I've had residents come to me and complain about my staff. Look, if the staff screwed up, then I screwed up, and I will give them an apology and let them know but I will never throw a staff member under the bus. But I will let the resident know that I'm terribly sorry and this will never happen again. So offer an apology, own the problem, accept responsibility for the problem. I can't tell you how many times I've had to apologize for things, even though it may not have been our fault, but just by saying you're sorry, the resident feels good. And if you tell them that you're going to investigate it first and you're going to gather the information and provide a solution, it's better that you get back with them and let things calm down. Give it a day or two. Even if you have a solution, sometimes it pays to wait. And a lot of times residents may not understand that it's a company policy or it's a procedure that they're upset about, and reassure them that you're going to investigate it. It may be a situation where it's an HR issue and you may have to go back, if you work for a management company, and talk to your HR department on how to handle it. But again, don't take it personally. Somebody might just be having a bad day. Maybe they're in pain, or maybe they're just miserable and irritable. Try to figure out, what does this person want from me? And give them some time and acknowledge, but don't respond to personal attacks or remarks. I can't tell you how many times I've been on the phone with someone screaming at me, and I'll say, this is not a conversation. When you're ready to talk to me and have a conversation, then I'll talk with you. But I'm here to help you. I understand you're upset. Calm down. Let's work this out. I will do everything in my power to try to get a solution. So here's a little dialogue on this slide. And I can't tell you how many times this has happened to me, where I have a resident say, what is wrong with you? It's an attack on you, and you want to respond because you want to defend yourself. And the resident says, every time I come here, I'm aggravated. You give me the runaround. If you knew what you're doing, this wouldn't happen. And this is the last time you'll do this to me. I pay your salary. I can't tell you how many times. So I would just say, Mr. Jones, you sound upset about this. And then they come back with, this back and forth. I'm upset. What are you going to do about this? And then just let them know, I need some information from you so I can help. Can you explain to me what aggravates you? What can I do to help you? Find the solution, fix the problem. We talked about this. Investigate, formulate, communicate, and implement the solution. Act. Once you understand the root of the problem, the origin of the problem, the complaint, evaluate, be positive, ask for feedback, and act. Have a staff meeting every week, put it on your agenda, because your staff could be your biggest support system. And I would say, make sure that you document in your management reports, and let your board know that you are working on finding a solution, and have target dates in monitoring your progress so it doesn't fall through the cracks. And then review your results. Your staff may be your biggest resource to help you solve the problem. And then follow up. This is really critical, because as a manager, timeliness is something that is super critical. You want to be able to let the resident know, I'm still working on it. I don't have a solution. Be totally honest with them. Let them know that you're still working on it Thank you for bringing it to my attention. And hopefully within the next few days, I'll have an answer for you. I mean, everyone has that owner or board member that complains and challenges you about everything. Include them on your activities. Ask them questions. Show them that you care. Thank them for bringing it to your attention. I had a board member that micromanaged everything that I did. That board member was in my office every single day. I finally just confronted that board member and I had an open conversation. I tried to understand where this board member was coming from, and I included that board member in my daily tasks, and I asked a lot of questions. And now years later, we're the best of friends. So it may be possible to turn your worst critics into your most ardent supporters. So bullying, this has become a major issue. In fact, I had written an article for the Florida Community Association Journal on bullying, and it was also published in the CAI's Common Ground. The American Psychological Association defines bullying as a form of aggressive behavior in which someone intentionally and repeatedly causes another person injury or discomfort. Bullying can take the form of physical contact, words, or more subtle actions. I can tell you, when I was a regional director, I had a situation where there was a special assessment being passed, and there were two factions, and it got out of hand at a board meeting, and in the audience, they started throwing chairs at each other. It got so out of hand that I had to call the police. And I say that whenever you have a situation like that, call the police. Workplace harassment, violence should not be tolerated. Unfortunately, it's all too common for bullying to occur in community associations. Managers need the support and guidance on how to handle these types of situations. And this conduct is not only unhealthy, but it also adds to the unnecessary stress, and it relates to a lot of mental illness, which a lot of publications are addressing mental illness in community association. And if the bullying is directed at an employee, it can increase sick leave, it can increase medical costs. It's so hard to retain good employees now. And you want to be able to have your employees feel comfortable coming to work every day. You don't want them to quit their jobs or request a transfer. And I can't tell you, as a regional director, how many managers that I had that experienced this type of thing, especially during the pandemic. Disgruntled homeowners that challenge the board's decision, harass board members, chastising the manager, and fighting with residents. Some residents, they just have their own agenda. These residents are considered bullies. So there's different types of bullying. There's physical bullying, there's verbal, cyber, and gesture. Those people that are behind the keyboard warriors, I don't tolerate it. I can tell you that there are ways to address this, and we're going to get into it, because it is threatening and it's an abuse of power. Resident bullies can disrupt the entire operation. It can bring down the morale, and it can interfere with the performance and productivity of your staff. So I have personally witnessed this physical bullying at this board meeting, throwing those chairs, and the police were called out, and we had to have like an intervention. And verbal abuse is the most common. The bully feels like they are able to name call. It's like children on a playground. I mean, this causes a danger to one's self-esteem. It causes anxiety, depression, emotional and psychological harm. Cyberbullying, it occurs. I mean, we have social media, we have digital forms of communication, emails. It is such a destructive way to attack others and spread gossip and rumors. We have the Nextdoor app, Facebook. Those types of venues are where people can ruin the association's reputation, and it could present potential liability, and it could hurt property values. Gesture bullying is another type of bullying where I had a situation where I had a resident that was staring down another resident, and it's an intimidating way that uses power and ego, and it's threatening. And that type of bullying, it occurs in associations, unfortunately. So adult bullying is very harmful. So what's the best way to address a bully? It can be difficult to handle someone who seems to know everything, is rude, ridicules, is aggressive, and sabotages everyone. So it's always best to take a positive approach. And here I'm going to explain how to go about doing that. Talk with the bully one-on-one. Have a face-to-face conversation. I always say, have a witness present. Don't talk over the phone. You want to have that eye contact with that person and criticize the behavior. Like I said, don't criticize the person. Stick to the facts. You want to make sure that you have either security there or another board member. And try not to get emotional. Stay calm, maintain your composure. Take a deep breath and don't make any facial expressions. And ask a lot of questions. Find out, why are they so critical and condescending? Ask them, why are they attacking? Why are they belittling? Find out, what is the origin? What is the underlying cause of why they're acting this way? Explain to your board, your residents, and management that this is going on, and then explain to this person that you're all on the same team. We are all working together for a common goal. And then explain to them the governing documents and review the governing documents with them. There may be a situation where, like I talked about in an earlier slide, it could be an HR policy that they're upset about. It could be a state law that just governs the association, and they're just not educated on how to handle it. And if it's a member of the board, I can tell you, I had a situation where I had a 9-person board and they were split, and there was one person causing all the destruction. We could not get through an agenda. The same agenda items month after month were going on. And this person, this board member, was causing such havoc that we removed them as an officer and made them a director. The board voted to remove them, and that pretty much shut them down. In addition, I recommended that a code of conduct be drafted by the attorney, and that all the board members sign off that they must comply with this board code of conduct. So I definitely encourage you to speak to your attorney and draft a board code of conduct and have everyone acknowledge it. Because the law is that they have to acknowledge they read the governing documents. There's no mandate that they have to take a board certification class, but I highly recommend that you consider making that a requirement for your board. I find an educated board is going to help support you and understand what's involved in the day-to-day, and you'll find there'll be less bullying. There are situations where employees bully employees. I say, speak to the employee, document the conversation, review your HR employment manual for policies regarding the bullying, and follow up in a few weeks and find out if the bullying is still occurring, and write them up. Document, 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 and always have a witness support you, and seek your legal counsel if necessary. So here's 7 strategies to managing conflict. Familiar yourself with the governing documents, enforce rules consistently. Always establish clear and consistent policies and procedures for addressing conflict. Be consistent. Don't use selective enforcement. If all of a sudden you're selectively enforcing, or you weren't consistent in enforcing rules, it's going to come back and bite you. So it's going to show a sense of fairness, and it's going to reduce the potential conflicts arising from unfair treatment, because nobody likes to get a violation letter. So be sure to be consistent and be proactive in communicating to your residents and your board members important information, updates. Use all of your communication channels, such as your newsletters, emails, your website. And if you do have social media, which I'm not a big fan of, try to use it to your advantage to educate. Regularly inform residents about what's going on in the community. Talk about maintenance schedules. If you have a project coming up, especially if you're doing like a concrete restoration or a paving contract, make sure that you are proactive in communicating those timelines, the decisions that were made by the board, so they understand what is coming, and keep them abreast of what's happening. That will reduce your conflict. And establish dispute resolution procedures. Make sure that your residents have a way to be able to communicate disputes and for you to be able to find a resolution. This will help in defining the protocols and having a well-defined policy and procedure manual, or adopting policies and procedures and having a structured approach to conflict resolution is going to help you. You may need to amend your documents. Again, the drafting the board of code of conduct, that's going to be important. You want to also train your grievance committee, your compliance committee, because they have to have a good understanding of what's going on. And when a resident is confronted and they have to get in front of their peers to give testimonials as to why they feel they shouldn't be fined, the grievance committee, they're going to be their constituents, their peers, and they're going to help you with the enforcement of the rules. And this is going to set the expectations. Also, when you have a new budget, this budget season was a disaster, a nightmare. I know all of you struggled through it. I hope that you had a clear communication channel and getting everyone on the same page so that they could understand what was going on with the increases, with the insurance, with the new legislation. I also say hold regular staff meetings, discuss what's going on, educate them. I can tell you I would have every morning a lineup. First thing in the morning, first 15 minutes, Ritz-Carlton, they have been successful in using this. And what they have is what's called the gold standards. And this creates a foundation where in the first 15 minutes of the day, everyone knows what's going on, what happened the night before, who's on property, move-ins, move-outs, contractors that are working. This is going to set the foundation and encompass the values and the philosophy in establishing your company culture. They also have at Ritz-Carlton what's called the Credo card. And if you read their gold standards book, it goes into, we are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. And this is what establishes a positive company culture. So if in fact you do have to go to mediation and you need a facilitator in resolving these conflicts, you want to, if you have to go, always remain impartial, and you want to help everyone communicate their perspectives effectively. Just remain neutral. Do not give your opinion. Professional networking. This has been my savior. Over the last 20-something years I've been doing this, I can tell you that I have built such a great professional network of relationships with professionals in the industry, such as attorneys and mediators and other property management experts. Establishing relationships with those people, they are going to help support you in providing the guidance and handling those complex conflict scenarios. It might be just somebody that you know from going to these classes in person. Talk to your professional network. And continuing education. You can also get continuing education through the Community Associations Institute and reading their publications, and also the Florida Community Association Journal, which I've been writing for since 2004. All of these are going to give you the resources that you need and the information that you need. Attend expos, go to conferences, attend seminars like these, and have workshops for your boards, and encourage them to attend them as well. And this is going to help you, and it will help create a better solution in handling conflict. It goes a long way when you present a sense of community and prevent the conflict. Okay, so we know that we cannot interpret the law, and especially if it's a contractual dispute or a conflict. So always go to legal counsel and make sure that you have someone that you trust, someone that is specifically serving community associations, community association law. Do not interpret the law, especially if it's a contractual dispute with a vendor and you have a conflict, or if it's a violation of the bylaws or the rules and regs. Your legal counsel is going to provide you the best guidance. The CAI has a wonderful rights and responsibilities for better communities principles for homeowners and community leaders. I suggest you go to their website and utilize this tool for your residents. So that wraps it up, and we'll open it up to Q&A, but I just want to say that on behalf of Hotwire, as their Director of Community Association Relations, we are an independent fiber optic telecommunications company founded in 2002. We deliver the next generation technology to communities. We are specific in serving you as a community association, and we are here to provide you fiber optic solutions. And we're in core markets across 10 states now, and we're providing 10 gigabyte speeds with no data caps. And we are the largest privately held provider of communication services to community living environments in the US. We are the 11th largest in the cable world. And we also have Kristen Johnson and Michael Karp, our co-founders. And recently, within the last year or two, we had Blackstone become an investor so we can expand and grow. So I want to thank you on behalf of Hotwire. We're going to open it up to Q&A now. And if you came away with just one thing, I'll be really happy.
Yeah, that was awesome, Marcy. Really great. Just a few housekeeping items. Also, I did just launch the poll to get your feedback on how we did today. So if you guys can all take that, would be great. I did see in the Q&A, and I did try to answer it. We will be emailing out the presentation, a link to the video recording, contact information, and then our information on future classes. And I will be sharing the attendee list with Marcy. I can see if you are here. And she will be getting you your credits, your CEU credits. But give her about 2 weeks for that. So I don't know if you want me to give you some of the Q&A, or if you want to see the Q&A yourself and just kind of read through them, Marcy.
Like Ashley, I'm open to either way. If you want to pick and choose, let's go for it.
Yeah, let me look here, because I was looking through this before. So let's see here. I'll kind of give you a few. I thought this one was good in here. What is this?
I want to thank the audience, because this is the first time I've taught this class. This actually came out of another class that I teach called Managing the People, the Property, and the Politics. So I want to thank everyone. I know I rushed through toward the end because I did run out of time. So I'm glad that we have this time for Q&A, and I'm sorry if we are going over a little bit.
Yes, so one question that I think is good on here is, what are the options that we can do with digital bullying, such as sending out emails and letters to purposely harm people in their jobs?
Well, when it comes to digital bullying, I like to say that if it gets out of hand, always contact legal counsel. Don't try to fight with that person, or have a one-on-one. If you can get together with them and talk with them and get them in your office, it's better to have that in-person conversation. But if that doesn't work, I always say, reach out to your legal counsel. But it may be just a misunderstanding or a misconception. And once you meet with them one-on-one, you might be able to get to the root of the problem.
Mm-hmm. Here's another one. What do you do in Florida if a board member refuses to sign the code of conduct?
There's nothing you can really do to enforce it. And it's unfortunate if they don't want to sign it because it just shows that they have their own agenda and they're not willing to work with you. So try to have their peers to encourage them to sign it. And again, if you have to have a one-on-one with them with another board member and explain to them the importance of why this is going to help support you as a manager and your team, that they are acknowledging that this board code of conduct is something that is ethical and it's a support system for everyone's best interests.
At board meetings, what are the board's rights to remove from the audience people who are disrupting the meeting?
So I would set written criteria and decorum and adopt it at a meeting and have the minutes to support it. And that way you have the teeth to be able to have that person removed.
Mm-hmm. And then here's an interesting one. What happens when the property manager or CAM is the one bullying residents?
Well, if it's a self-managed property, and I would say the board should sit down with them and let them know that this is not working and here's the expectation, and give them 30, 60, 90 days to improve and set a plan in place, letting them know that this is not going to be tolerated. And 3 strikes, you're out. Just write them up. And if they're with a management company, I say go to the regional director and have the regional director address it with HR.
Thanks for watching. For more great educational content, click the subscribe button now.